It recognizes our belief in God, our country, not just individuals, our country, our founding fathers codified this in the documents that founded this country. Our reliance, our belief in God, and our reliance upon God. Of that, there's just no debate on that. You may like it, may not like it. Declaration of Independence, we find these truths to be self-evident, that we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, of which are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. It goes on in the Constitution to say we are putting together this Constitution in a preamble to secure the blessings, not only for ourselves, for posterity. And that Constitution followed with a Bill of Rights that enumerated those godly rights given to man, including the very first one, which was a right to believe in God and to express that belief anytime, anywhere, including the public square.
33 million. It's proven to the money investors that people want something to feed their souls, not just their worst desires.
Absolutely.
And
yes, indeed.
This kind of sums up my entire dialogue career on the heat of the night. You ready for this? Okay, this is it. My 7 years on the heat of the night. My dialogue all summarized in this. Get right on it, Chief.
And now, behind the mic at KXEX, this is the Alan Autry Show. No retreat.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
What the hell's going on out here? Everybody grabbing out there. Nobody.
that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
So 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable. Free at last! Free at last! Thanks for the money!
You're listening to the Alan. $559-899-1550.
And welcome to Alan Autry No Retreat, and welcome to Thunderous Thursday, as we like to call it. All those that are listening via the old-fashioned, old-school way through the radio, may radio never die. The rumors of its decline were highly exaggerated decades ago. Still around, good old radio, but those on social media, welcome. So happy to have you here. Now, I got a few notes in front of me. I prepare a little bit each night for the show. And then I'll go into the gym, which I try to do every day before I come in here, going in my workout in. Work your body, work your mind, work your spirit. You can't go wrong there. And, and then I see something on the TV in the gym. So all those notes kind of just go out the window. And that's kind of what happened today. Saw a few breaking stories and some things that just got my interest. But first of all, let's just all wipe our brow that it looks like this railroad strike is not going to happen. It looks like they have come together and worked out some agreement, because the last thing we need right now, with inflation just running like a wildfire in California, is some more supply chain issues, which would further decrease the supply and the demand. We know what that is out there. Folks, there's still not enough on the grocery shelves. gas, this manufactured shortage of gas, even though the president has released strategic reserves for emergencies. Now, that's supposed to be for military emergencies, or national catastrophes, natural disasters, hurricanes, and such. And yet he's dipping in that, and that's what's happening at the pump, folks. You're getting this momentary drop, just ironically, right before the midterms. Just amazing how that happens. But it's not sustainable. Those gas prices are going to skyrocket back up, and until the flow of fossil fuels begins to increase, at least to the level that will affect the continuing raising of the gas prices. So I guess it's a long-winded way of saying don't trust these price stabilizations, or in some states a reduction in price. There's no more sustainable flow of oil coming our way. It's our reserves. But it's good to see that they were able to come together, and it looks like avert a strike. A lot of interesting things happen as well. Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin got together. Now, this comes on the heels of Sergei Lavrov, one of the bigwigs there in the Russian government. Really, I mean, he's right to the right hand of Putin. They go way back. Very, very trusted ally. Wherever he goes when he speaks, it's either Putin telling the truth or Putin lying. When Lavrov's lips are moving, you can bet your bottom dollar, if you have one left after all this inflation, that it's Putin talking. So to me, that gives me just a little bit of glimmer of hope that sanity is returning to the situation in Ukraine. Again, I've gone over and over and over again because I saw this movie before, and it's an ugly, horrible, the worst horror film you'd ever want to see. And I don't want to see it again. Scarier, more bloody than any horror film ever made in the history of mankind, because you know what? It was real. It was called Vietnam. And I'm seeing, and folks that grew up, guys my age and a little younger, a little older, know of what I speak here. It's unfolding exactly. They say, history may not repeat itself, but it rhymes. But here's a case at this point. It's nearly exactly how it happened in Vietnam. It just seems by every way you look at it, history repeating itself, and it needs to stop. You have to have the egos come in check. Someone's got to emerge somewhere in this world with enough clout to say, look, let's have a pause here, ceasefire, let's get to the negotiation table, see if we can work this thing out. And it looks like maybe with these two high-level meetings happening and the veil of secrecy around it, that maybe there's reason for hope there. I sure hope so. Also, I tell you, if it wasn't so sad in many ways, it would almost be comical what's going on with the border situation and the border governors and conservative governors sending migrants to Washington, D.C., New York, all the sanctuary states, cities, counties that have a policy of come one, come all. You racist border towns, welcome those immigrants. You're blessed to have them cross by the millions, not prepared for it. Don't look at that, how they're straining the resources, and you got strangers sleeping in your backyard, and you have things, people stealing left and right, and that's not condemning all the immigrants across that border. So don't jump to that conclusion with me. But it doesn't take too many nefarious-minded folks to cause great harm. It wasn't the whole Muslim world that brought down the Twin Towers. It was about 12, I think, real out there crazies. And look what they did. It doesn't take a lot to cause a lot of death and destruction. But somehow, they're anointed, these mayors of these mostly blue states. I mean, you got to call it like you see it. I try to be a good, fair umpire and referee on this show. I really do. I have my leanings, obviously. If you had to put me in a box, I guess you'd say I lean conservative, and I will admit that. There's things on the Republicans do that I adamantly disagree with. But on this issue, most of the governors in these states are Republican. They are conservative. And they do believe to have an open border is not good for this country. It's not healthy for this country. It's not healthy for the migrants that are making the dangerous journey. I mean, our border policy is the greatest gift that the cartel ever got. They are laughing all the way to the bank. smuggling in human beings for sex trafficking, labor, fentanyl, partnering with China to just devastate this country bit by bit, like a boa constrictor wrapped around your neck, slowly squeezing the life out of you. That's what this border situation is. Well, I guess it started with Governor Abbott. He says, you know what? Let's share this blessing. You know, the mayors and the governors of the sanctuary states and cities have said it's a blessing to have, you know, all these folks come over unannounced and participating in the American dream in these type of numbers, that this is the way to do it. Don't criticize it or you're a racist. Okay, well, let's let them come in on this blessing. Let's not be selfish with this wonderful blessing that we have called uncontrolled immigration. And so they did. They said, well, let's ship some of this blessing to them in Washington, D.C. and New York. And today, DeSantis sent a couple of bus loads yesterday to Martha's Vineyard. And we expected, right, that they'd be met with open arms. They're a sanctuary region there, right? Sent some to Washington, D.C., to New York, of all places. Come on, come all. Give me your heavy-hearted and your downtrodden. Yeah, New York. That's their motto. But that's not what we're seeing. We're seeing something else. We're seeing behavior that's exactly like the small town mayors of these border towns and governors of these border towns are exhibiting. Not racism, just deep concern that you just can't handle this much humanity in an orderly, affordable, and healthy way for not only America, but those immigrants themselves. It's too much. It's too crazy. It's too out of control. You can't have a mass invasion like that. It's not good, especially for the cities who immediately and regions are going to bear the brunt of that uncontrolled immigration. And you have the point where I think it was Abbott had toyed with the idea of calling out the National Guard to help secure the border because Biden will not secure the border. You hear Kamala Harris on her interview. She maintains steadfastly that the border is secure. And ironically, in the very town of which she is employed there in Washington, D.C., 2 days earlier, you had Mayor Bowser of Washington, D.C. declare a state of emergency because the border was unsecure. And I know the hypocrisy. I mean, the hypocrisy in politics, okay, let's point it out day after day. Now, when are we going to wise up and know that's just part of the deal? But if we're going to turn this country around, we're ever going to get back on the right track, we got to call it out, and we have to make sure there's some consequences for hypocrisy that translates into tremendous pain for this country, for everyone, rich, poor, whatever ethnicity, out of control immigration. If you don't have a border, you don't have a country. There's something to be said for order, to have some order, whether it be in your home. Have you ever been in a home that walked in and it was just total chaos? Nobody had through their shoes everywhere. Kids are fighting, the house is not clean. It was just chaos. It's not pleasant to be around. I've been in those homes with some good friends, and I couldn't wait to get out of there. And you see the stress on them, yet for some reason they find it difficult to institute some order, because order means rules and regulations and things we have to abide by. But it's interesting to watch this unfold, and I looked up, and right now, it's still up there. I just went off on CNN. In a criticism of the GOP governors that are doing this, Abbott, DeSantis, and the governor from Arizona, whose name escapes me right now, are the three states right now. And I back them up. I think it's a great thing to do. Let them help. They're in these cities and states are petitioning the federal government for help, just like the border states did. So suddenly Washington, D.C. is a border state. It's a border city. Suddenly New York is a border city. And that's not bad. The old saying, just walk a mile in my shoes. On this issue, you wouldn't have to walk a mile. You walk about 3 feet in the shoes of these border states and the mayors and the governors that have to deal with this issue. You'll change your mind. You'll change your view on it. It's easy to criticize something if you don't have to deal with it. You know, there's no, you know, you hear people going, well, we're going to let prisoners out because of a minor crime, a so-called low-level crime. The low-level crime happens to be aggravated assault and armed robbery. Now, low-level and high-level crime is like major and minor surgery. You know, minor surgery is something that happens on somebody else. Any surgery on you is major. And it's the same as any crime. You have a family member that slapped around or threatened a gun in their face and their house robbed, and they call that a low-level crime, not if it happens to you. So these mayors and these governors of these blue states that are implementing this crazy sanctuary state, sanctuary city policy are seeing now firsthand how that just does not work. And again, I go back to what I was getting ready to say at CNN. The headline down below, the talking heads, said GOP governors send migrants to sanctuary states without warning, without notification. Okay? And they find that very, very distressing. You at least should have told us. That's what they're saying. Abbott, we don't like it, but why didn't you just tell us you were loading up the buses and loading up the planes? At least you could have get a phone call. You could have sent an email. Text me, something. At least give it a heads up so we could prepare for this. That's what all these governors and mayors are saying to these governors. And on this CNN deal here, I'm thinking to myself, well, okay, that's kind of fair, but where was the warning in the State of the Union address to the border states and all of the little towns that are going to have to deal with this, when you made the statement to every immigrant around the world, come on, it's open border. Come on, we can handle you. You just make it to the border and you'll have entry to the American dream. No questions asked. Load up the truck and move to Beverly. Where was the warning to those border states that you were going to give that address, that you were going to say that in the State of the Union? Where's your email ahead of time going, look, I'm going to be giving the State of the Union in about 2-3 weeks. And I'm going to make this invitation to the rest of the world and primarily South America. But it applies to the whole world. That we're basically opening the border. We're not going to require COVID shots, none of that stuff. Just I'm giving this open invitation. And by the way, when the President of the United States says something like this, the world usually reacts. So we don't expect that to be any different. So we expect a surge to come to the border after I deliver this message in the State of the Union. Nothing like that, even closely resembling that, ever happened. These border states, these border cities were caught completely off guard and having to deal with this massive humanity. And we saw it from Haiti. And, you know, if you're in Haiti, you're a poor person in Haiti, wouldn't you want to come to the United States? I would. I get all that. But I made this an issue back in 2001 when I was a mayor. I took a lot of heat for it. I said, unless we get our arms around this illegal immigration situation, and everybody is culpable here. When Wall Street Journal has a front page article, a whole issue, but on the front, not even the front page, the cover, the upside of illegal immigration, you know your country's in trouble. Because you know they're validating and normalizing illegal behavior. And that's why Cesar Chavez, the union organizer here, the legendary Cesar Chavez, whom Robert Kennedy was so fond of. And I happen to be a fan of farmers and a fan of Cesar Chavez. Why? Because farmers gave jobs to people like my dad and my mother, and Chavez brought dignity to the job. Okay, back in those days, before Chavez was out there, you didn't have a toilet out there for the workers. You had to go find some tall cotton. That's where that phrase, you know what, and tall cotton come from. No water. You had to bring your own water. Chavez said, look, you at least should bring some water and have a bathroom out there. Okay, just for those two things alone, I said, way to go, Caesar. Yet I'm not going to demonize the farmers. As I said, one gave the job to my dad and mom and me, and the other brought dignity to the job. But Cesar Chavez was adamantly against illegal immigration. You know why? Because he knew everyone that came over illegally were going to be forced to live in the shadows. They were never going to be able to achieve the American dream. And you can't unionize illegal behavior. You can't, because, and you see where I'm going with this? It was the catch-22. And Chavez movement just step by step just went away to the point now the United Farm Workers, of which he founded, just got the big FR from Governor Newsom wanting to have some union issues there. And I don't know enough about that issue to know if I would have supported it or not. Sometimes a good idea can look like a nice little sheep, but it's a wolf in sheep's clothing. But my point is, I think what happens, all things work together for good, those that love God and called according to his purpose. I still believe this country cried out to God in its inception. It's in our founding documents. And if we have enough folks out there that don't forget that and think in terms of not only the economy of this country being affected negatively by illegal immigration, but also it's inhumane as well to the immigrants coming over here. We need to get our arms around this, have fundamental reform in the legal immigration system, because illegal activity in the legal immigration system is in there top to bottom. It is systemically corrupt. And you got to get that, you got to clean it up, and let folks come over here, do it the right way, and have a shot at the American dream, just like all of our ancestors did, and like we were born into, those of us that were born here. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, oh man, you hear this term all the time, and we talked about it on the show, systemic racism. And I was in the gym and saw something on the TV that I went, okay, I'm gonna have to talk about this on this show, because I think it has to do with the National Football League, something I have a little bit of knowledge about. The NFL, I played in the NFL, but the NFL stood for not for long with me. But it was learned a lot. But anyway, it's the systemic racism issue was around the NFL scene for a long, long time. But something's happened, and it's for the good. We'll be right back. Oh, we got Laura on the line? Is Laura still? Okay, we'll go to Laura here. We'll spend a couple of more minutes on this immigration subject before we get to the NFL and the rise of the black quarterback. And that was what was on the TV in the gym. Come a long way, the National Football League. Well, football in general, sports in general, it's come a long way in terms of opportunity for African-American athletes. We do have a history in this country that was not always so. I think anybody who follows sports, well, just follows American history, knows that. And then hopefully I get to this today. If not, I promise I'm going to get to it on Friday. And it's, I want to talk straight to the cops and the family of the cops. Basically all of law enforcement, but in particular, what we call the beat cops, the ones that are out on the street in our cities, day in and day out. The infantry against crime, if you will. Love those guys and gals. You guys are unbelievable. And literally thank God for you. As our mayor, Chief Dyer, likes to say, the law enforcement here in any city is they're God's ministers of justice. And that's a very awesome responsibility.
1 minute?
Not every cop lives up to that, but you know what? Oh, heck, a lot of them do.
Thirty seconds.
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now, 559-899-1550.
Hey, welcome back to Alan Autry No Retreat. May I never retreat, and if I do, you run me down, grab me around the neck, turn me back around to faith, family, and freedom, and put my sorry rear back on the right track. Now, I don't think I'm going to do that at this stage of the game, but if I do, you all have the authority. I'm giving it to you to do that to me. All right, we got Laura Fisher on the line. Always like to hear from Laura. And the topic, I think I can see it, is immigration. We were talking about that. Go ahead. Laura, you there?
I'm here.
What's on your mind, dear?
Well, before I start the immigration, I do have to give you a little story that will hopefully give you some faith in our future generation.
Okay.
Okay, there were some changes at my granddaughter's school that she was displeased with. And first, perfect attendance parties went from 4 a year to 2 a year. That was unacceptable. Then they changed the assigned seating in the cafeteria. Again, unacceptable. Well, the final straw was on Monday morning when the announcement was made that the large playground would be closed until after winter break. My granddaughter stood up and she said, when was the vote on this? I wasn't included. And her teacher said there was no vote. The principal and the school board made the decision. And she said, but this is America. We have rights.
Oh, my goodness. I love it.
So then she says, this is a democracy. We're supposed to have a say in how things go. And she said, I understand that. And yes, you're right, Bella. But here at the school, the principal and the school board make the rules. She slaps her hand on the desk and she looks right at her teacher. She says, well, God bless fascism.
Wow. Listen, I'm all for respecting authority and all that stuff. What this young lady, what you just described, to me, is the greatest respect for authority, because the authority is the Constitution, United States, which requires everything that she had a problem with that was being denied.
Yeah.
The voice. I mean,
that's why she got 10 points extra credit, because she used everything in the proper context.
Did she?
Defined fascism.
The school did?
Her teacher gave her 10 points extra credit because she properly defined fascism. And
oh, my God. Laura.
For 24 years, and a third grader had never, ever used the word fascism in the correct context to her.
Oh, that gave me goosebumps. No, I'm serious. I mean, that gave me goosebumps. You know what you ought to do? Let me suggest something. You guys ought to contact CNN, Fox, all the outlets, see which one picks this up. Because this, for her and the teacher, for what you just told, that story right there, and the teacher having enough integrity to say, you know what? You're not only are not out of line, you're exhibiting what we're trying to teach here. Critical-minded people that come up, that have their own mind, that believe in the Constitution. Because the thing is, well, Alan, you're trying to brainwash the Constitution for me. I said, look, anybody that has a position that believes it's good for everybody else is going to want to influence people. Hey, come participate in this, correct? The far left thinks that it's good to have authoritarian, totalitarian leadership, that they're anointed in their intelligence and you need to be taken care of, and we're going to make the rules until you get as smart as we are, and we're going to convince you of that. The right, as look, individual rights are important. Think for yourself, isn't it? But that Constitution basically is just a outline on freedom and respecting of authority, because there's laws in there. So that's why it's not a moral equivalent in many ways to compare the Constitution to these other ideologies, because it's so different and unique in that it's about freedom. Yes, rules. We're a nation of laws. And now, who is this young lady to you?
My granddaughter.
It's your granddaughter. That's what I thought. That's all she did. And
everything Grammy said. And the final thing she said to her teacher was, I'm going to let my Grammy know about this, and when I do, she goes, whoo, there's going to be some smoke in the city. And she sat down, and then all day she kept murmuring to her fellow classmates, this is wrong. We have rights, you know.
Yeah, isn't it good? And I think I know you over these radio waves long enough now to know. So I'd feel the same with my son. Her daughters would take in that position, or grandsons would take that position. I would say, and I said, well, wait till my grandpa gets, I said, you know what? You don't need me. You did just fine. You don't need me. You don't need this old dog in that hunt, because you did just fine. Now they come try to punish you for speaking your mind and having your freedom in a very respectful way, passionate, yes, but you call them out on things they should have been called out on. And you did it in a very strong way, absolutely. But you were not out of line, and have this teacher. I'm as impressed with the teacher, her being out of your lineage. I'm not going to say I'm surprised that she stood up for herself like that and stood up for the other kids as well. But the teacher that said, she
had never had a third grader pose that argument to her.
Mm.
She said, she goes, I've never had a third grader stand up and she goes, whether I considered it a little bit of an overreaction, but it was contextually correct.
Contextually correct.
She said, I can't get mad about that. And she said, and she was polite. She goes, I think she was trying to form some type of a mutiny in the class for the rest of the day because she kept murmuring that they had rights. But she said,
yeah, I really would. I would put this in the ear of some of the PR departments there at these news outlets and see if they pick this up, because I think, I don't know, CNN, by the way, I know I'm going to get a lot of probably hate mail on this. The new investors there, this guy Malone, I mean, it's clear he's trying to move the needle a little bit back from this extreme woke left ideology that seemed like everybody that worked there had back. He's cleaning house. He's getting rid of a lot of people. And they have this new segment called Upon Further Review, where they've come out with these headlines. They were wrong on the kid that, that they said was insulting the Indian guy with the drum. I forget his name, but the Hunter Biden laptop, all the stuff that they were wrong on. And there was this issue, I forget what it was, but they came on the first show and did somewhat of a mea culpa, and we went quicker than we should have, and we want to tell you the rest of the story. So they may even say this is a story we need to get out to people, especially to young people, is because you hear it all over about teachers being so far to the left and teaching, trying to steer kids to change their gender at 5 years old, and hating their white buddy, a friend in the sandbox. You can't play with a little white girl anymore because she's racist and doesn't know it. All that stuff. To have this kind of counterbalance and have a teacher come up and say, this is because anyway, that'd just be my suggestion on that. I'd like to see this featured someplace. All right.
Well, that would be the second time that she made the news, because she made the news when she was 4 as well, because she wanted to mail a birthday cake to her mother in heaven.
Oh.
And I know the people at the post office near my house, and I asked them if they would be willing to let me bring the cake. They could have the cake, but just to give her some peace of mind. And they said, of course. So they opened up a separate line for her, for only people delivering to heaven. They put a sticker on it. They did the whole 9 yards. And I just put on Facebook thanking them because she was so happy. She ended up making the news in England.
Oh, that is so cool. Well, you tell her when I leave this world to bake one up and put it with me, and I'll take it with me. I think I'm going to him. I'll deliver.
Let's get to immigration.
I'll deliver it to St. Peter and say, make sure you share that with everybody, St. Peter. This comes with a lot of love. Laura, thank you so much. All right, let's take
immigration.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, immigration. We can have the potentially strongest border ever. We could send thousands of agents down there. This is almost a 2,000-mile border, and there are geographically areas that are just going to be too difficult to patrol. The fact is, people are still going to find a way into this country. We have got, and I mean all of these politicians have got to own the fact that there have been multiple studies, I've sent them to you, about the disastrous results of our foreign aid policy. Our foreign aid policy in El Salvador, Nicaragua, and Guatemala specifically are part of the reason, a big part of the reason why these people are coming here. People don't seem to understand that there is no oversight. When we hand that humanitarian aid and that cash to those corrupt governments, they're not doing their due diligence to make sure that they're going to stave off illegal migration. As a matter of fact, El Salvador uses our humanitarian aid to feed gang members in prison.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with you. The idea is, again, I'll quote Thomas Sowell, policies sound good, but you always have to apply them to reality to find out if that policy in totality works, or half of it works, or a quarter of it works, or none of it works. It has to be applied to the real world. And it sounds good. Well, let's give $20 billion to Colombia and tell them that if they, clean up their country from drug dealers and create job programs and that sort of thing, that you would think that that's what they're going to do with it. Well, all you have to do is look at what happened here during the COVID pandemic, when we gave this COVID bill and gave all of these PPE loans, in some cases millions of dollars to companies who did not use it the way they were supposed to use it. And they got addicted to it. And then you see what's happening to the workforce with all of this extended unemployment, with they're making more not working than working. Don't you think that all of this foreign aid, South America over the years, didn't have the same effect on the people there? Here's some free money. It had exactly the same effect. You people just, why do I don't want to go get a job when I got this. That's the thing in Cuba. That's why Cuba can't get it together. They're one giant PPE country, and they live off of the handouts, and you're never going to be able to hand out enough to live your dreams, the quote unquote American dream, or even the Cuban dream that they used to have. And I agree with you. There has to be a whole re-examination of our foreign aid. And you pointed this out. And you pointed this out. You pointed this out in Ukraine. It's the same principle in Ukraine. You give them $48 billion, $50 billion. They tell you we're going to use it on this, this, and this. But there's already reports, by the way, Ukraine does have crooked oligarchs. I know that comes as a big surprise, and people took a big breath. Oh, no, not the Ukraine. Hey, they were not an angel before Russia attacked them, and Russia should not have attacked them. It's evil act. Don't read me wrong. But let's not make that system, corrupt system, who took money and paid off the political allies, shut down dissent. And you bring up a good point. Does free money with no conditions attached to it, is that good for any country we're trying to help? Or are we just trying to be one giant mafia and pay hush money to people and compliance money? Come to next here. Go ahead.
The intent was good. It was a good intention. But here's the thing. I'm going to give you one example, and that's the Dominican Republic. Back in the 60s and early 70s, we had a lot of illegal immigration from the Dominican Republic. They share an island with Haiti, okay? Now, if you look at the Dominican Republic now, they have very little poverty. They have great health care. They have good education systems. They have good roads. They have a great economy. And they have one of the lowest South Central American and Caribbean illegal immigration problems, coming here, of any of these nations. And one of the reasons why is because they welcomed missionaries. And this has been borne out in other South and Central American countries. If you look at Uruguay, they had a high presence of Catholic missionaries in there because they control the money. They say, we're coming in to build schools, and that's what they do. They come in and build roads, and that's what they do. They don't let the government control the funds or what they're going to do. They come in and they do their good work, and the people respond. And that's the problem with the foreign aid policy. We don't have any missionaries that are actually in the country saying, no, you're not going to give all of the humanitarian aid to the prisoners, the gang prisoners in El Salvador. Ain't going to happen. This is for the poorest of the poor. And you're not going to keep the money to pay your security forces to look the other way when gangs are blowing people away in the streets.
Yes.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah. No, I think that's...
And so going forward, we need to either you figure a way to keep your people in your country or you're losing the aid. Because we're going to have to use that aid because we got to process them when they come here.
Yeah, we'll have to go to break over this. I agree 110% with you, Laura. And I tell you, there's something to this New World Order that China, Russia, North Korea, Iran, and to a certain degree, India is putting together. If we don't bring in South America to a northern coalition with Canada, the United States, and South America, should be one of our strongest allies. I tell you, the future not only is uncertain, but I think there is certain things that are certain. You're going to have a heck of a battle on your hands dealing with that New World Order with a South America that's unfunctionable, and in many cases, countries that are adversaries right next door. I mean, that's, but Lori, a lot of wisdom as always. Appreciate you. This is Alan Autry, No Retreat. We'll be right back. Laura, thank you for that call. That's you always have a lot of wisdom, and folks, I tell you, the key to all of this is being able to be interested in, and as old folks like me that closer meeting the maker than we were born by far. You ask yourself, be careful how you use your time. There's not that much left in it, even if I live much longer from now. But you're not guaranteed your next breath, much less tomorrow or several years. I get all that. But you enter a stage where you really are concerned about the next generation, the world you're leaving behind. And I know old folks like me, I saw it with my dad, that generation, the World War II generation, being so concerned about the country, during the Vietnam War and stuff that was going on with the youth and some policies that were being instituted. As it turned out, they were absolutely correct. The 60s, some of the stuff that happened systemically that were put in place have hurt this country greatly. Some of it helped this country greatly, pretty much like every generation. The Voting Rights Act, the 60s, a lot of good stuff socially came out of that. I'm not a big fan of all the spending that went into place, that you just give somebody money without any expectation that they do anything for it. That's never really helped anybody that much. It's all right to give a gift now and then, but to make it a way of life, here's a handout, not a hand up. And by the way, they had policies in place where, just not only stay down there but we'll provide the food, but you don't even have to get up and go get it. We'll deliver it to you. That's not good, and we're taking it, that whole well-meaning welfare system has destroyed so many lives, so many families. Anyway, we got to keep it's just our responsibility to be interested in these things. It's my responsibility to have this platform to talk about them and do so without letting it own you. I'll go out from here. I'll go have
30 seconds.
I'll go have maybe a hot fudge sundae. I got to watch my sugar, but I got treat day. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to think about other things besides this. But you have to. You have to be involved. What this woke left movement is all about is keeping us worn down and then eventually worn out, because they never will.
10 seconds.
Something about that ideology. They'll never wear out, and they'll never wear down, never wear out.
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now. 559-899-1550.
Midnight hour. You don't have to wait till midnight hour. You got us right here now. About 12:46 Pacific Coast time. That'd be what, 2:46 Central Time, 3:46 Eastern Time Zone. Boy, it's so brain. I took my Prevagen today, man. Jeremy, you didn't know what that Prevagen is. You will. It works. A little bit. All right. I was going to talk about the cops. I'm going to do that tomorrow because I want to address the cops. Right now, I'd just like to talk about something I saw in the gym today as I was doing my bench press, as I was doing reps with 400 pounds. I happened to look up at the... why are you smiling at that, Jeremy? You don't believe I can bench press 400 pounds? No, you don't? Okay.
I'm impressed.
Your mom raised... At the weight, or how I could just lie so bald-faced?
At the weight.
Okay. He's nice. I love this kid. And I saw the on ESPN headline, "The Rise of the Black Quarterback." and they proceeded to show clips of all the black quarterbacks in the NFL today. And they also, actually, I couldn't hear what was going on, so I was just kind of putting the story together through the pictures. And I went back, they showed some footage of Marlon Briscoe. Now, I do believe, I may be wrong on this, but I think Marlon Briscoe was the first black quarterback to play the position full-time with the Denver Broncos. And good quarterback, by the way, to be the first. Jackie Robinson came on, the first black quarterback in baseball player, rather, and it was a great player, Hall of Fame player. And Marlon Briscoe kind of broke through on that. And then some years later, I think it was James Harris from the Rams came in, big guy, good quarterback, never got his notoriety or he was better than people say he was. The Rams had some down years, but James Harris was good. And then you had Doug Williams, who led the Washington Redskins to the Super Bowl. And Randall Cunningham was in there. And, of course, you can't forget Warren Moon. But there was some spacing out between those. And it was still kind of a new thing to see like a quarterback. And you know how I go on about America not being systemically racist as a country on this show, and I stand by this. But I will tell you this, and this is going to rub some people the wrong way. I understand that. America has had a history of systemic racism in certain parts of its society. There's no getting around it. I just mentioned sports. Baseball was systemically racist towards white people for a long time, till Branch Rickey said this is not good, it's wrong, which a lot of people thought, but nobody did anything about it. Branch Rickey did. You got Jackie Robinson, and that opened the gates. A lot of black ball players. You saw black people not being able to eat at certain restaurants, not ride at the front of the bus. That was systemic. That bus organization, whatever company that was, within at least that company, was systemically racist, no doubt about it. Couldn't stay at hotels, systemically of the hotel industry. They needed to be called out and that done away with. And it was. But you listen to the woke left, and you would think we're back in 1865 again. And we're not. And many, many black folk will tell you that, especially though the older ones that lived through the 30s to 40s, 50s. It's not 1865. My goodness, it's not even 1965 anymore. Are we perfect as a country racially? Absolutely not. Is there pockets of systemic racism in certain aspects of society? Probably. I haven't really seen them. There were some things in the housing industry where banking institutions were leaning loans towards white people away from black people. That needed to be dealt with. Now, if it's found out, you're in big trouble as a bank, as you should be. Okay? But you hear this. America is systemically racist. And I always, it's like Laura, her granddaughter, is asking the question, well, where? Show me where, and I'll be right there with you, and we'll go tear that systemic racism down. Now, the fact, man, you got to understand, in terms of the African-American situation, people of color, let's take that segment, it is a minority. You're not going to have as many applicants for a job, as many. So with that, comes, you wish there was more. That's why I'm so adamantly against abortion. The millions of black babies that were killed that never had a chance to live the American dream. That's obviously another show, but it's part and parcel of what I'm talking about. But I asked the folks on the left, where is it? So we can all come together, black, white, brown, whatever, like we did in slavery. Took a battle, but it happened. Over 400,000 white people died to free black people. And nobody had a gun to those white people's head making them do it. Okay? It was the help of the Republican white legislature that got the voting rights bill passed in 65, not the Southern Democrats, whites. It was Republicans. Yet America is totally now so systemically racist, in particular, white Republicans. And in particular, on top of that, old white Christian conservative Republicans. So I just asked a simple question. Hey, I got a little bit of juice left in my tank. Show me where that systemic racism is, and let's go after it. But they can never tell me. I haven't heard one person that's espousing this, from D'Angelo to Kendi to Al Sharpton to all of the folks who bring this out day in and day out, that America is systemically racist and should be burnt down completely and rebuilt. I'm sincere in this. I want to know where it is specifically, like it was in the past. Okay, there's no black players in baseball. There should be black players. There's some great players. Look at the Negro leagues. Why can't they play? Let's go after it. Let's fix this. NBA, the same thing. Pro football, same way. Banking industry, schools, segregated schools. Let's go change this. A lot of people, hearts like mine, and even better than mine, would be there with you. 110%. But the fact of the matter is, we're not the same country. Individuals grow and they get wiser. And countries, if they do it right, do as well, collectively. And we have as a country. We're not there yet to where we want to be, but thank God we're not where we used to be. And we're not going to let people tell us that we're still where we used to be and fill our young people's hearts and minds and souls with hate towards one another because of the color of their skin. I tell them they should hate their country because it's systemically racist. Well, where? Well, you don't need to know. Just trust me. I'm the professor here at the college you're attending. I don't need to tell you. I don't need to show you. You trust me. I don't care how good a friend that white girl is or that white boy is. I don't care that nobody else answered the phone when you were going through a tough time in your life, and they did, and they met you at 3 a.m. to console you. They're white. They're evil. They're the oppressor. You're oppressed. Don't trust them. That's what they're telling kids. You're not? Come on here and let's debate it. I know for a fact that's what they're telling these kids. It starts in the K through 12, and it's reinforced in college. So you got these generations of kids coming out that hate America, hate white people, and believe if you say you're colorblind, you're racist. If you quote Martin Luther King, for goodness sakes, you're racist. Now in the NFL, they were going through, let me get back to the gym, because my heart was filled with joy that now you look at all the black quarterbacks in the NFL. Here's this partial list. Lamar Jackson, the Ravens, what an exciting player. I loved watching him play. Pat Mahomes, we know about him. Jalen Hurts with the Eagles. Russell Wilson, Broncos. Trey Lance here locally with the 49ers. That is a myth now, that black athletes couldn't play quarterback. That was a thought, a mindset that was prevalent. Not every coach had it, but it was out there. Back when I was growing up, I'm not going to dismiss that. But now that's not there anymore. And when I hear about all these black quarterbacks, I say, it's great. I don't care if, teams in the league, 34, 30, I don't care if all 34, 35 teams have black quarterbacks. I don't care that the NBA is predominantly black. I don't see that out there. I'm a Green Bay Packer fan. I got the hat on now. I don't see that. In fact, it was called my attention by that TV program in the gym. And I'm going, wow. I never took notice. Because I tell you something, folks. When let's take Lamar Jackson or Pat Mahomes. When they throw a touchdown that wins the game, there's going to be a lot of white people cheering. Okay? And they're not going to be cheering because Pat Mahomes and Lamar Jackson are black. They're going to be cheering because they did well for the team, for the touchdown. The fact that they're black is going to have nothing to do whether they cheer for them or not. If Lamar Jackson and Pat Mahomes throw interceptions enough, they'll get booed by white people and black people. And it won't be because they're black. It'll be because they threw an interception that caused the game. Same thing with Aaron Rodgers. I'm a Green Bay Packer quarterback. he keeps playing like he is now, there'll be people booing him. I might be one of them. It's not going to be because he's white. And I'm not going to sit there and say, well, give him another chance here, which I do. I played a position. It's tough. But I'm not going to cut him in more slack as a pro quarterback because he's white. And you know what? Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, and every black quarterback that's playing right now, I think in their mind, they don't want to be not booed because they're black and threw an interception. Because people, we've moved beyond that. I literally don't take account of how many black quarterbacks or how, I mean, we got run out of show here, but it just got the census back about a year and a half ago where the whites are less of a minority. I think like 52% white. And minorities and people are going, oh, what do you think about that, Autry? What's that? I said, I could care less about the color of the skin. If I'd rather live in a community that I'm the only white person there if that community is full of good people that care about each other, that their character is what counts in them, not the color of the skin, than to be in a white neighborhood with people that are exactly the opposite. A character means nothing. It doesn't matter who you step on when you go up if you never come down, those kind of attitudes. I just don't care. I truly, I guess that comes from working. It was equal opportunity cotton out here in the San Joaquin Valley. And I just, when we worked those fields, poor blacks, poor whites, poor Mexicans, we all shared that. We were all poor. We truly didn't sit there and see the color. It just, and so when I get called a racist because I say I don't see color, and then I seek a colorblind society like Martin Luther King, you will get a little pushback. You will get some words of retort back your way. All right, folks, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you so much here on Thunderous Thursday. And you know what? Just everybody's out there struggling with finances, maybe relationships, a lot of stuff going on there. Just remember, just do your best you can do, and let God do the rest. You do that, and things are going to turn out exactly the way they're supposed to. God bless you, and see you tomorrow, God willing, on Free for All Friday. Bye-bye now.